My name is Brandon Andre, and this is how I made my music video for I Don't Know Why You Still Hate Me.
It don't seem so, cause I don't know why you still hate me.
The premise of this song and music video follows the events that happened to me in 2021 when I had a cyberbully who, after stalking me for a year, decided to create hate pages of me on Instagram. So after finding out who it was, I decided to fly down to their hometown of McAllen, Texas and stage a takeover, getting the locals to join in to plaster my symbol all over their town. And this is how I made that happen.
Took a plane to South Texas to see my friend. It had been a minute. Big surprise, they were hella different.
So I wrote this song in October of 2021, probably a couple of days after the hate attack subsided, and I didn't even know what the fate of this song was going to be. It was the first time I was going outside of my production team to work on a song, and then eventually came back to my team to cut the vocals and finish the production. So from October to February of 2022, I kept trying to envision what this music visual was going to be. You know, there's a concept I originally had where I wanted to go to the desert in Arizona with some friends and just film us doing a bunch of cool stuff. I don't know why you still hate me, but I'm busy living life and having fun. But during this time, I was listening to my high school playlist, which is made up of mostly alternative rock, emo, and punk rock music. You know, bands like All American Rejects, My Chemical Romance, The Honorary Title, and all these other bands that I used to listen to back in the day. Listening to these artists made me have like this rebellious spirit. So then I thought, how can I make this music video for this song reflect this defiant, deviant, and rebellious energy that I was feeling and that was required for what this song was? You know, this song was my response to hate pages that were created about me. You know, there's a lot of sarcasm, satire, and tongue-in-cheekness to this song, which is more of a theme you see in punk rock alternative music. And then an idea popped into my head, and I was like, you know what would be so ballsy is if I went back down to McAllen, Texas, where everything went down to actually shoot this music video. Which, if you don't know the full story and how I believe this was an old best friend of mine who was behind this, and everything they've put me through as a result, and that's how I knew they were from McAllen, then you can watch the full story here. So this was an idea I had, but of course I wasn't serious about it, right? Like, up until this point, I absolutely hated everything about McAllen. Like, I saw it as a trash city filled with trash people. It was the location of one of the worst experiences of my life. And for years, I actually blamed the city and the people from there because I believed that this person's friends and communities made them into the evil person they became. So I was resentful towards this town because of this. And so I didn't want to have anything to do with this place, as you can imagine. But it would be such a savage response. And this is something that I'd never heard of anyone doing before. So it was too good not to do, even despite my own personal feelings about the town. But then I got the idea of making a new version of my symbol. That would be cool if I could go back down to McAllen and put my symbols all over the town, and that would be what indicates that I'm doing a takeover. Again, this was entirely a what-if concept that I was not committed to, but then the idea popped up where I wanted to combine my symbol and pay an homage to the anarchy symbol. So I made a post on my Instagram and I asked if anyone was a graphic designer, and that's how I found Earl, who is a graphic designer from the Philippines. He was a follower and fan of mine on Instagram, and he ended up designing my new logo that I used in all of the artwork and visuals. And then once I actually had the logo, my vision was starting to come together. And then around Father's Day, I remember telling my sister about what my plan was and asking her what she thought. The idea was to fly down to this person's hometown to stage a takeover using my symbol that we would plaster all over town and get people from this dude's hometown to join in the music video wearing my merch and showing me support. And I didn't know if this was going to be possible. I mean, that's a big thing to try to pull off, but that was the idea that I had. And I thought this would be funny because in the hate messages, they kept calling me obsessed and that I built my entire music career off this person. And so if you know my type of humor, it's pretty much like shock humor. Like, I think most people would probably try to defend themselves from an accusation like that, but for me, the funnier thing to do would be to sarcastically act obsessed, you know, go to their hometown with a song dedicated to them and their hate with the goal of making their town famous. I mean, to me, nothing is funnier than trolling back a troll, and this was like on another level, so I just could not resist. But you know, the idea itself gave me a lot of anxiety. You know, McAllen, Texas was the location over the last 3 years that I would have dreams about because of what happened to me the last time I was there. So for me, it's not only ballsy because it's the hometown of my cyberbully, but it was ballsy because it was the hometown of the person who caused the original trauma that I had to deal with for the last 3 years. So this was really perfect. personal. But I kept going back and forth debating whether or not I could go through with this because I didn't have like 100% certainty that it was actually this specific person. Like I had no evidence. I only had to speculate based on the words they wrote me and recognizable patterns of behavior. But at that point, it was just too good of a story to not do. But once I understood what it would mean for me to go back to this place that I called, ground zero, that it would mean confronting all of the shit that I was put through by this person, it was on. Because for me, it wasn't only a music video, it was also me going back down there to take my power back. Except none of this was possible until I was able to find a person from McAllen who could help me make it happen. So I went on Instagram and looked through different hashtags, and this girl, Jestel Angel, appears at the top of the McAllen photographer hashtags. So I DM her something like super basic, like, hey, and clearly I'm not actually thinking she's going to respond or anything will come of this. In fact, I didn't even put any effort into DMing anyone other than her. So as you can imagine, I wasn't really trying to make this happen because betting my chances all on one girl's answer was not what you want to do when you want to get something done. But to my surprise, she responded, and then I pitched her my concept, which at the time I was still like, this may or may not happen. It's just an idea. And then we eventually hopped on FaceTime and talked some more. And honest to God, I was so nervous about all of this because I just kept on thinking, like, am I actually entertaining this idea of going down to this fool's hometown? But I explained to her the actual concept, and then I had to open up about how this person who I used to be friends with, who's from her hometown, was behind these hate attacks. For them, the curious thing is, you're from Los Angeles. Why does someone from Los Angeles want to come all the way down to McAllen to shoot a music video? Like, no one does that. But I wanted to do like a show of force by going down there and filming my music video. And I didn't know how that was going to sound. To me, it was savage, but to her, it could have been crazy. But she was way more down than I expected her to be. In fact, she was so elated to be a part of it. She was already prepared with a list of ideas, places, and knew of a bunch of people who she can get involved. And bro, when I tell you that I was not prepared to see what she could put together, oh my God. But again, it was still only an idea and the song hadn't even been finished yet. And then most important to me was to talk to my friend Danny about all this. Danny was my friend first, but he's also my videographer for the last music videos. And more than that though, Danny's probably the reason why I was able to really overcome everything that I went through. We met on Instagram and it was my music video for Too Late that really caught his attention, and we were able to actually relate to our friendship situation. He also had a best friend who also had the same name as mine, who he was close with and also had a falling out with. So we were able to bond over that similar experience over the last 2 years. But beyond that, Danny's someone who I just have an immense amount of respect for, even though he's a lot younger than me. Being around him had really helped me to appreciate real life and not the social media influencer LA mindset that I felt like I was suffocated around. He was a real person whose friendship changed the way I approach life. So it was really important for me to have him on board for this idea because it was really, really wild. Like, even if there was another videographer that was available that could have done it, like, he specifically needed to be involved because for me, it was really like, you're the only one who understands why I need to do this and that it's deeper than just a funny music video response concept. Like, I was planning to go down to the source of my hell for the last 3 years, so I couldn't do that alone with someone who didn't understand. And the truth is, he probably still didn't even fully understand, but he still supported me in doing it and became a part of the production. And for that, I will always be indebted to him. Not just for being the videographer for this project, but also for being a source of support when I was there, even though he probably never even knew it. But after he was down, it was official. I had everything I needed to pull the trigger. We were going to go to McAllen, Texas.
Took a plane to South Texas to see my friend. It had been a minute.
Once I knew I was going to go, I literally told no one about this. And no one even found out about this until I released the music video. The only people who knew we were going to go down there was Danny, Jess, and Danny's brother, Joe. No one in my family knew. None of my friends knew. Not even my producers knew what I was going to do. And I cut the vocals for the song with them. The crazy part is that I had no idea where this person lived, if they still lived in McAllen, or if they've moved to LA or whatever city. No idea. I didn't even bother checking. I didn't care to know. I was just like, man, I really don't want to run into them when I'm there. And then when Jess was starting to tell her friends about the project, I had so much anxiety because I didn't want him finding out. And I wanted to keep this super low key. And so she ended up being the only person that I really had to tell about the identity of this person by giving her his Instagram. And luckily she said she didn't know him. It was funny too because I told her over the phone what I remember his Instagram was and was like, look at his Instagram, but I don't want to know anything of what you see. Again, this is how committed I was to never seeing this person's social media or even wanting to know what was going going on in this person's life. Fast forward to May, I had an incomplete version of my song done that was in the right timing and good enough to film the music video with. The plan was I would drive to Phoenix and stay at Danny's place in Arizona for a couple of days of shooting. Then we would fly out to McAllen from Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to film the remainder of the music video. On day one in Arizona, we filmed at a Peerspace set that would be like my apartment in Los Angeles in the opening scenes for the music video. And I had already filmed the drone scenes of downtown LA, which was pretty fun because I actually had to like find the apartment that looked similar to the set we were using while I was droning across Los Angeles. On day two, I was getting over a cold, but we shot another scene out in the desert road, and this was all just going to be some additional B-roll. Then Thursday came when we flew out to McAllen, and it was pretty surreal because I couldn't actually believe I was coming back to this place. You know, never in my life did I ever want to come back here, and prior to this, you couldn't pay me $1 million to return. Yet here I was en route to visit some good old trauma. And so we arrived at the airport, and it was just all bizarre. It's a tricky thing when you go through a traumatic experience because it's like your life just stops and you're just stuck reliving what you went through over and over and over until you're able to heal. And when you're a man, you're expected to suppress so many feelings and emotions that drags out the healing process and keeps you stuck. So as much as I tried suppressing, you know, the memories of this day over time, they were always just so vivid and clear. And nothing was more evident of that than when I arrived to the airport. Danny and I arrived to the airport, and I told him to start filming the McAllen signs and film me as I was walking around processing everything. I kept having flashbacks to when I was dropped off at the airport by this person's mother, and I had to call my mom and tell her what just happened between this friend and me. And man, I hated this more than anything because I didn't trust my own mother. But I was still in shock and trying to desensitize myself to what had just transpired by acting like it was trivial and like this person was meaningless and insignificant. And I was like, they're just one person out of millions of people. They were only ever just a follower. Like, I was just trying to minimize the situation so that I didn't feel anything. And so it was hard to have to explain to my mom why not even a day later I needed her to come pick me up at LAX. I don't ever get emotional, least of all in or around my mom. And if you know my relationship with my mom, it's not good. I was most hesitant to reach out to her because she is notorious in my life for taking the worst things that happen to me and weaponizing them to hurt me. And she also has a way of making a bad experience feel even worse with absolutely no comfort or solace. But she was also the first person I had to call for me to be able to be picked up at the airport because she had my car. And so there was no way I could escape telling her that something major just had happened that forced me to return home early. And if there was a way that I could have never told her what happened, I would have definitely done it. But I remember being on the phone with her having to explain what had just happened, you know, and I was in the middle of trying to figure out how to find a last minute flight back. And this was during a time where I was financially not doing well. So that $300 trip ended up costing me $1,000 because I spent $700 on a ticket the same day to get back home. But while I was talking to her, starting to register what had transpired, and I started falling apart and saying, what did I do? What did I do? I remember feeling so lost, confused, alone, scared, and I was just like in utter shock. And so that was the first memory flashback I got when I arrived to the airport. But it was so different being able to walk through the airport from this vantage point. It was like walking through the crime scene of my own death, because for me, this was the place where it all happened. You know, this was a place that I died. It was also hard to convey to Danny, who was with me the entire time, just how significant this moment was. Like, what exactly I was revisiting here and how much it really impacted me. So I had to do a lot of my processing internally and alone. But I began the first steps of replacing that memory with this new one. We got our luggage and walked outside, and I was immediately in love with the weather and the humidity. It was my first time renting a car through the Turo app, and so our host left the car at the airport, and it was my first time driving a newer car. It was a BMW X3 2019, which, coming from a Honda 2012, you know, that was like living in the future for me. And so I was just like, oh my God, this is so cool. Look at all the things that you can do and stuff. And then we drove to the Airbnb we stayed at, and we were greeted by our super hospitable hosts. Needless to say, like, the first day was a really awesome day. So I was like, cool, like this is already turning out to be better than my first day when I was here last time. On day 3 of shooting, we woke up early and drove around downtown McAllen. It was actually a really interesting experience because I didn't get to see much of it the last 2 times I'd previously went there. The weather had instantly brought me back to being in Guatemala, so it felt really familiar to me. Because I had flags that I needed to put on a pole, but I couldn't obviously bring a pole, I had to go to Home Depot to buy a flagpole to put the flags on. And yeah, yeah, there are definitely a lot of Mexicans in McAllen. You know, I did not spot any white people in McAllen. I was like looking, I was like, is there any white people here? And like, nope, there really isn't. But honestly, it felt really cool to be around a lot of Latinos. Then we met up with Jess in person at this really awesome bagel place where they had this like really bomb chorizo bagel that I never had before. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it was so good because I love bagels and it was fire. And we mapped out the plan for where we were going to shoot. She asked me if she could film a video to post on her story to get people to come out to the day of shooting for the march and where everyone was going to do this massive takeover, because at this point this was Friday and that was going to be on that Saturday. Before that, she was already posting on her story and a lot of people were super down and excited to be a part of it. I was like shocked because I was like, really? They care that much? I just felt like it was so easy to get people involved in this project and Jess was making it all happen. And so I was hesitant when she had asked me if she could film me and put me on her story because I was like, oh my God, I don't know who follows her and I'm trying to be low-key about all of this, but at the same time I'm like, look, I'm here, I gotta make this happen, I gotta make people turn out, I gotta make this look big, you know? What's up, you guys? My name is Brandon Andre. I'm a music artist from Los Angeles, and tomorrow I'm going to be filming a music video scene here at McAllen. And the purpose and the goal is I want to put McAllen on the map for the specific music video and song that I'm releasing. It's going to be super dope, and I want as many participants as possible. If you're interested, please let Jess know. Send her a DM. We're going to find a way to just like plug you in. We're all going to be wearing black, and it's just going to be a really dope scene that she'll describe to you if you guys are interested. But I really want as many people from the area to participate. Guys, girls, come through. It's gonna be fire, it's gonna be lit, and we're gonna make the song pop off. So you're all welcome to come through and participate. Thank you. That day, she was getting so many messages from a bunch of people who wanted to be in the music video, who were telling their friends. Like, a lot of the people that came through weren't even people that she directly knew. It was people that had seen her post and told their friends about it, and then they told their friends about it, and then like word of mouth just kind of started getting around and people wanted to be a part of it. And so after that, the first place I wanted to shoot at was at the McAllen sign because I had a vision that, all right, for the pre-chorus of this song, when I'm saying, "It's about you now," and the choices you made. Like, I wanted that to be the moment where everyone who is watching knows that I actually went down to McAllen. So there's a scene where I'm standing in front of the McAllen sign, but you don't know what I'm standing in front of. As the camera starts pulling out further and further and further, you start seeing the sign being revealed, and you know at that point that Brandon Andre is in McAllen, Texas. And I was like, oh, that was a part that I was like, this is savage. I love it because, you know, it's pretty much a surprise up to that point. I'm in Los Angeles in the first couple of scenes, and now, boom, I'm in McAllen, baby.
This about you now, and the choices you made. Was it worth losing me? It don't seem so, cause
again, the entire time I was just trying to be low-key about everything, but I kept putting myself in situations where I literally had to be all out in the open, exposed, because cars kept driving by and I kept laughing with Danny and Jess, saying like, oh my God, what if this fool drives by and sees me filming the music video? From there, we went to a graveyard site, which was supposed to be like the main reason why I go down to McAllen in the first place in the music video as part of the story. You see me in the beginning packing a bag with my symbol and also plucking a black rose from a vase. And this was because in my mind, I was going back down to visit my gravesite and to show that I rose from the dead. Just led us to the graveyard and we did some drone scenes and got some B-roll scenes of me looking solemnly at my tombstone. Then from there, we went back to downtown to shoot some standalone scenes of me singing my song in the main street in front of the popular theater.
I hope that one day you forgive me.
And this part was really fun because there was an adrenaline rush throughout filming these scenes.
Same angle though? Or once I go full body, you raise it up?
Oh, yeah, you can raise it up. Right? Again, I'm in the middle of this person's hometown in downtown McAllen. And luckily there wasn't a lot of traffic, but you know, I was out there exposed and filming a music video.
I wonder how long ago this is filmed. What?
Did you hear what he just asked? He's like, I wonder how long ago this has been built. Look at the sign sets.
75?
And I don't know who's driving through these streets. You know, from my perspective, there was a whole group of people that were behind this account who were sending me these hate messages, who were connected to this person and have been following me and consuming every bit and piece of my content for a year. Like, I didn't know who knew me here and who didn't. So I was just like, well, this is awkward for you.
Wish I knew, but I'm too busy. Cause I got so much going on. You've been stuck there for too long. I think it's time for you to stop moving on. Cigar. Thought you forget me, but I was wrong. You say I'm obsessed, but you pay my songs.
I'm like, I was
So we shot several takes of me walking through the main street, and the coolest part was getting the rooftop access. So before we even met up, I kept asking Jessica if she knew of any rooftop spots so we could get a shot of me singing on the roof with the drone, panning up and down, and like I had this whole vision that I wanted with a drone and the roof, but she couldn't find any originally. But luckily, I decided to randomly enter a shop and ask the girl who was working there if they had rooftop access, and she said that they did. And I asked, hey, can I film on top of the roof? And she said, yep. Like, it was so easy without hesitation, which I was like taken aback by because things in LA are not this easy to get done. What's your name? I'm sorry, I'm
Got it. Touches.
Guys?
He asked for access to rooftop. He got it.
I was like, does this building have rooftop access? She's like, yeah. I was like, can I access it? Yeah. I was like, that's it. Thank you so much. You're so awesome.
Thank you. Oh my god. Perfect.
But I was able to fulfill my vision for these rooftop scenes, and it was just like so much fun.
I don't know why you still hate me. Wish I knew, but I'm too busy. It's not being so never me. Well, you forget me, but I was wrong. You say I'm obsessed, but you bang my songs. It's driving you crazy, so just turn it off.
And then from here, a lot of ideas were improvised last minute. You know, I wanted to get multiple shots of known places that people from McAllen in South Texas would know, hey, this is in South Texas. And this was also the day that Doctor Strange 2 had come out, and I really wanted to see it opening night because I assumed it was going to be super hyped, even though it turns out that the audience in my theater ended up sucking. So we planned to go see it at a movie theater that I guess Jess had told us was, you know, a known iconic theater in the RGV region. And then also nearby there was a Whataburger that I had to get in my music video because nothing says Texas more like Whataburger.
This is actually like the jungle sounds like in Guatemala. So close. I don't know why you still hate me. Wish I knew, but I'm too busy. Wasn't worth it to me. It don't seem so close. Me feeling so famous. Why you so mad at my success? Making hate pages on Instagram. Talk behind my back like you so pissed. It's easier to blame than to look within.
Record and then go up.
Okay, well do it when it just disappears, I guess. Oh shoot, you're right.
So I have to go lower. They did that.
You just don't want to go lower than 60 because that's when it gets fuzzy.
We're advertising yourself. All over McAllen.
And the concept for that was, hey hater, I'm in your hometown just doing the random things you did growing up here, like eating at Whataburger and going to watch a movie at your local movie theater.
Oh crap, that was what I was supposed to do.
On day 4, this was going to be the day where I was shooting with other people. On the previous day, a guy named Nate reached out to Jess via Instagram and offered up his shop for filming. It was a shop located inside La Plaza Mall, which is the main mall in the RGV region called TDK McAllen. I thought it was just a barbershop, but it ended up being a hybrid of a barbershop, shoe store, and clothing store, which I'd never seen a concept like that before. But Nate was their social media guy, and he let us come through for a scene, and that's when I thought this would be like the perfect first place for us to actually start the entire takeover.
It don't seem so cause.
So the plan for the first half of that day of shooting was that 4 guys were going to show up and be a part of like these scenes where we're taking over this person's hometown. And I really wanted to create some moments from like Black Eyed Peas Where Is the Love, where you see all these people putting this question mark all over downtown LA. That was a reference for this music video. So this scene was going to be just seeing a bunch of dudes running around McAllen, putting stickers up, spray painting my symbol, putting up posters and signs with my symbol. But it was all going to start at TDK McAllen.
Got that? We good? Alright. Wait, I just looked at the camera. I don't want to look at the camera.
Ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, go.
Lot of 42 on the price I'm taking. Pouring out my soul and the price I'm paying.
Alright, ready? 3, 2.
I'm gonna get open stuff. Yeah. Okay, so when you say action, so you just give the cue, run.
Yeah. So we're skipping the mirror part, so you're just gonna get up and run.
Yeah, because it'll be just from him getting up to the...
3, 2, 1, action.
It was crazy too because the guys that showed up for the shoot didn't all even personally know Jess. And I don't even think Nate personally knew Jess, but word got around to what I was doing and a lot of people wanted to be a part of it. And it was funny too because Jess kept asking me like, how many people do you want? How many people do you want for these scenes? And I was like, I don't know what's possible, right? Because I'm like, can she get up to 20 people to show up? Can she get 30? Like, I don't know how many people she could get to show up. And I was very specific with my requests too. I was like, hey, I want this amount of people for this scene, this amount of people for that scene, and I want them to all wear black. You know, and from my perspective, I'm like, I'm not paying any of these people, so I hope I'm not being too demanding. You know, these people are volunteering their time to be a part of this, so I'm like, I don't want to be like I don't want to ask for too much here. I mean, imagine meeting a complete stranger for the first time who's a music artist and then doing whatever they told you to do. Now, imagine that stranger is telling you that as your first music video experience, you're going to be running through and outside the main mall of their region on a busy Saturday in front of hundreds of people. This part was completely improvised last minute too. And again, this is me wanting to keep things low key. And as you can see, I failed successfully.
That's why you're out here.
And bro, I was like, oh my God, what if this fool's at the mall? Or what if his brother or his cousins or someone recognizes me here? I'm like, it was so crowded that day. It was insane. And here I am walking through the mall with a camera crew and a big group of people wearing all black. Like, I couldn't believe that I was actually doing this. Not even that, but back in 2019 on that fateful day, the mall was the first place we stopped by after my friend picked me up at the airport. So to be back there, like running through this mall and causing chaos, it was just, I don't know, it was just, that's why I say it was like me getting my power back, because I just would have never imagined me doing that. So to be at the same location with a whole crew filming while everyone in the mall was staring at us while we were in the store running through the mall, specifically at the food court, which is where hella people always crowd at, was insane. Like, this was the greatest power move that I could make of this person's hate and of my experience. But before we got that shot, I had to coach these guys through this run because, again, it takes some confidence to be able to cause a ruckus in front of a bunch of strangers, and this was in their hometown, so they knew people, you know, like I didn't know anyone. It was a lot easier for me, but I had to make sure that they could deliver a believable and stellar performance, especially for Danny, because it's not easy doing that while also holding a camera. But it was hilarious because, you know, our plan was to only do the run one time, you know, because that's a lot to even do once, and we didn't want to get in trouble or kicked out of the mall because we were literally drawing a lot of attention to ourselves. So we did the run one time, but Danny forgot to press record, so we ran through the mall on the first take and none of it was even captured, so we had to do it all over again. And imagine me, I'm like, oh my God, I already was so like freaking skeptical about doing this because I didn't want to be, you know, in this person's radar. And I was like, oh my God, we already drew a crowd the first time, now we're gonna do it again. But the second time, we already had that adrenaline rush, and I had to lead this project. So I couldn't let my personal fears of this person or his family being at the mall getting in the way of a good scene.
I'm out of breath, bro. Yeah, me too, bro.
Plus, what we were doing was way too cool and funny to care about anything else, honestly.
Now we go from here to what is this shot? You got to pick up that battery. Okay, so we'll go down to downtown then. So we'll do the downtown shot.
Okay.
You're good to be with us for the rest of the day, or you gotta
What
go?
time?
Okay, he's like, hey, music video.
Hey, bro. Yeah,
All right.
Nah, really, like, this is my job.
So then let's go to.
Are we doing car scene?
Yeah, but we're gonna do that like later on. We have to go back to the Airbnb to pick up the battery because he left one on charger. Then we're gonna go to downtown.
What
We're gonna get more
battery?
stickers,
Do we
put it
have
all
the same battery, Danny?
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we don't have to go.
Let's just go back to the car right now and then like do that.
Once we got that shot, we were racing against the sun. The next scenes were going to be all of us running through downtown, putting stickers all over everywhere. And this was such a fun part too, because for me, seeing a vision I had in my head actually come to life, like there is no greater joy. Not only that, but the dedication that these guys had given, and mind you, none of these guys had ever heard the song yet. These shots were all just B-roll that didn't require the song to be played, and they all just liked the concept of what it is that we were doing and why. And Jess had been the only person to have heard the song, even though it was never of like the finished version. But for the most part, everyone that was a part of the music video only ever heard the song sped up because we were shooting it in 30 frames per second to slow it down to 24 frames. After we got all the shots in downtown, we scrambled to get to an overpass that Jess knew about. And I really wanted to get this shot too because I was like, oh, that'd be cool if I could put my Pretty Boy Famous sign and my logos over a freeway overpass, because that's always symbolic of some sort of like activism. And it was a pretty tricky scene too because like the wind kept blowing and like I got super cheap banner paper that kept ripping, and so we had to like tape it on and stuff. It was pretty funny.
Yeah. That is true. You can look around and shit.
But don't like over dramatic, you know what I mean? You'll probably look around naturally anyway.
All right, ready? 3, 2, 1, go for it.
Now a little bit more urgency, y'all. Center, no, more down, more down, more down, more down, more down, more down. Behind the sign, right here. Right there, right there. In between the things, in between the things. Let's see. Get in the center, bottom down, lower it down. Lower it down, lower it down. More. In the open space.
Oh, like here?
Yeah.
And we had to shoot this thing really fast too because people were already starting to meet up in downtown and we still had to do another scene somewhere else. Then from there, we had to book it over to this place called the Love Buzz to film the opening scene with me and the guys pulling up to McAllen in the Beamer with my flag and symbol as our entrance. And it was another known place that Jess and Nate had suggested filming in front of. So we went really quickly to grab a scene there, and this was also totally improvised. Then after, we were rushing over to meet up with the big group in the downtown alley we had planned to meet up at. And honestly, this is where I was surprised by Jess to see like a massive group of people who had shown up and were pulling up. It was incredible. Like all of these people showed up to help support me and to make this project happen. And little did they know how much deeper this was to me. You know, that by helping me make this thing happen, they were helping me to replace really painful memories with really amazing ones. And so I parked, gathered everyone together, gave a speech to explain what it was that we were doing.
So it's B and an A, but it's made into a broken heart because my music is, my message, my platform, everything has come because of a broken heart of life.
Giving them the Cliff Notes version of why I was in McAllen and what my symbol meant. And they were all for it and hyped. You know, this was gonna be the biggest moment in the video where all of these people from this guy's hometown are standing with me against his hate in his own territory. So I wanted to go big. I bought smoke bombs, we had flags with my symbol, everyone was wearing black, and we had the washable spray paint cans ready. And this looked like everything I could hope for. Then we shot a comedic moment because throughout the video, there's a Cain and Abel reference. In fact, the entire concept of this music video was inspired by the biblical story of Cain and Abel. In the beginning, you see I'm reading a book on the story of Cain and Abel, and it says the story of the first murder. And then there's the graveyard scenes, which is supposed to represent that someone was murdered and died. And then in the bridge of my music video, the guy that was infiltrating my group who picked up the stone and was going to try to bash me over the head with it, it was symbolic. He was representing Cain, my friend, and obviously I was me and Abel. And the message behind all of this to my hater was, you killed me once, but I came back from the dead. Now you're gonna try to kill me a second time, but I'm too powerful. And I wanted to convey that in a funny moment. So we had a lot of fun with that because in the moment I had to pick someone that required a bit more acting than what everyone else had been doing. So this dude named Antonio volunteered to be the bad, creepy stalker guy, and honestly, he committed to the role pretty quickly.
Action. All right, now look at the ground. All right, walk out. So you're gonna grab it, pick it up, hide it behind you, then walk forward.
How did that, let's see.
Oh, let's do it again. I thought I was just practicing. Right? Oh, yeah. Actually, we don't need to just start from here. So we'll start from here. So let me know when you're ready. Said I'm always gonna love ya.
Yeah.
Just look, just be you. Okay. Okay, ready?
Go for it.
Action.
Action.
Wait, that was so bad.
So we shot a couple of takes of him about to bash me in the head with a stone, and it added the comedic element to the music video that I really wanted for it. There's actually a lot of biblical references in this music video too. You know, there's 2 verses that I used to address this person's hate in a couple of the scenes where I share their messages. And I thought it was pretty poetic too, because one of the verses said, if anyone says, I love God, yet hate his brother, he is a liar. For anyone who does not love his brother, whom he has seen, cannot love God, whom he hasn't seen. Which is from 1 John 4:20. But this is also why in the bridge, the lyrics from my perspective come full circle to deliver the real message, which is, so keep stalking every move I make, trying to get me mad so that I hate. Swear you so funny. Like you don't know me, said I'm always gonna love you. This is what for me as a storyteller makes the entire project so beautiful, because while everything I'm doing is to expose the hate that they did to me and to draw attention to the closest personal thing to this person without revealing their identity, is also like a power move. You know, to be able to say, look at what I'm capable of doing. I could utterly crush you and destroy you. And the entire world would cheer me on because it would be justice. But instead of justice, I'm deciding to show you mercy. And instead of paying you back with hate, I will instead choose to love. And that's the biggest flex about this song. To be able to show the world what it actually looks like to love your enemies. So I love that from the exterior of this, it looks like, yeah, we're getting back at this person and we're doing this hostile takeover and look at all this crazy, wild savagery things that we're doing. But I drew all of that attention just to be able to say to this kid, I still love you. And that for me is pretty fire.
Yeah, so keep stalking every move I make, yeah. Trying to get me mad so that I hate, yeah. Swear you so funny, like you don't know me. Said I'm always gonna love ya. Come on now. So I don't know why you still hate me, yeah. Wish I knew, but I'm too busy. Cause I got so much going on. You've been stuck there for too long. I think it's time for you to stop moving on. I hope that one day you forgive me and stop being so damn ugly. Wave the flags, yeah. Thought you forget me, but I was wrong. You say I'm obsessed, but you bang my songs. It's driving you crazy, so just turn it off.
2, 1, go for it.
Wait, I'm walking in.
Oh, sorry.
So I'm gonna walk in,
Okay.
and then I'm gonna stop. Go!
And the ending scenes were so beautiful. You know, the shots of everyone running through the streets in slow motion with the red smoke and the sun blasting with the flag moving. Holy crap. This entire scene was unplanned, totally improvised. But as you can see, everyone was super into it. And I couldn't believe how willing everyone was to go above and beyond to make this video possible.
Okay, film that. That's cool. Okay, let me get a shot of you guys. Wait, okay, you guys run throughout the street. Can you pause my kids' lighting real quick? Alright, let's. Oh, shoot! That's fire. Just run until the thing is out.
They get the assignment more than I did. They got the assignment more than I did.
You can't breathe. That was good.
Everyone actually showed they cared and were doing their part, and I was a complete and total stranger to them. But it reflects so much in the video every time I see it, because we pulled off something that no one anywhere has ever done. To fly down to someone's hometown who did the most hateful, messed up thing to their former close friend, and to take over the town for a music video, like, bro. And then this water tower situation, which I get asked a lot about. But I filmed the drone scene of this tower, and I had a special effects artist put my symbol up so it looked like we went up there and put my symbol on it. I needed it to look really big with what we did, and people actually think we went up there to paint my symbol on the water tower, so it worked. After that, we were done, and it was a wrap for day 4. Obviously, me and Danny were super tired, and so we got back to our Airbnb. I think we like knocked out, and then we met up with Nate and his friend later on for dinner back at the La Plaza Mall. The next morning was day 5, and we were leaving around 12 p.m. So we went back to the bagel shop because I really liked the chorizo bagel. And then while we were waiting there, I had the idea to get an after scenes credit of me being on the phone, basically saying that I'm in South Texas.
3, 2, 1, action.
What up? Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I've been busy. I'm in South Texas right now. Had to handle some business. Just go back in the studio. No, I'm in South Texas right now. I had to handle some business.
And that was it. Then we got back to Arizona, knocked out for the rest of Sunday. Monday morning came, I drove back to California, and I started to edit the music video before I left to Guatemala for another 2 weeks. But then the craziest thing happened. When I was in Guatemala, I got a strange, mysterious phone call from a 956 McAllen number. And I was like, who the hell is calling me from McAllen? And so I asked Jess if she knew the number because I'm like, oh my God, did this kid find out what we're doing and now he's gonna try to harass me or something? Oh, because also after the hate pages, like 2 months later in December of 2021, someone kept calling me one day on restricted over and over and over. And I was like, who in the world would be doing this? And so I felt like that was connected. But she checked the number and it ended up being the police department. And I was like, oh my God, did this kid find out and call the police on us or something? Like, I was just completely caught off guard. I was on vacation mode and I was like weirded out. So I ignored it. But then the police called again. So I hesitantly answered and it was a detective who immediately started off, is this Brandon Andre with B Andre Media? And I was like, how the hell do they know my name and LLC? And you know, I had nothing to hide. So I was like, yes. Were you in downtown McAllen at this time on this date? And this was like a week later, mind you. And I was like, what's the purpose of this call? And he was like, were you flying a drone in downtown McAllen during the visit? And I was like, we were in town filming a music video because I'm a music artist. You know, because I'm over here thinking that we were gonna get in trouble for spray painting in the alleys. You know, I was like, maybe they had cameras there or something. And then he asked me some more questions, but then he told me, you were caught flying a commercial drone in prohibited federal government territory. He said, you flew a drone in front of a federal courthouse that tries the most dangerous criminals in the country. Are you aware of this? And I was like, no, I'm not even from there. Like, I didn't know what that building was. And he said, well, I'm a detective and I'm working on behalf of the federal building to find out who was flying that drone because we kept receiving calls from federal agents who spotted the drone from the building. Oh my gosh, dude. And this was like the most random thing that could come from this experience, you know? Like, in my head, I was like, that was the last thing I saw coming. And then I was like, how did you find my information? And apparently, not only did I fly the drone in front of this ugly ass building that's an eyesore in McAllen, but I even managed to park in their parking lot where I took off with the drone. And so the surveillance camera caught me and got the license plate number of the Turo car owner who turned my contact information to the police. Like, I'm literally vacationing in Guatemala. Meanwhile, I'm here having government federal agents from the United States up in arms thinking that someone was maliciously spying on the federal court building where they try the most dangerous cartel members and gangs. This dude straight up asked me if I'm affiliated with any cartel, any gangs, like if I had family that lived in McAllen, if I had family that were in prison. I was like, oh my God, what did I just do? But I cleared the air and was like, look, I'll send you the drone footage so you can see for yourself that my intention was to fly and capture downtown, and I had no idea what that building was. And so I sent him the video and he gave me a warning about commercial flying and that like I needed a license and I needed to learn the territories and places where I could and couldn't fly the drone. And from my perspective, I already knew, you know, the drone itself has limitations to where you can fly, and there was a no-fly zone because we were close to the airport. And so there was only a limited area where I could actually even fly the drone in downtown, but there was nothing that gave me the indication that I was in federal property or territory, so I didn't know. Then months later, I thought of an idea to promote the song on social media, and I thought it would be funny to make these shirts Make McAllen, Texas Famous, to add to the music video and to use for the content I'd be creating to market the song and music video. Then I eventually shot some additional scenes like 6 months later in LA so I could include scenes with this shirt. But this was going to be the marketing campaign where the whole goal was to make this kid's hometown famous through different pieces of organic content that I was making. You know, I kept picturing people from all over the world who listen to my music and on TikTok watching this video and hearing about this little town down in South Texas and learning about its existence for the first time. Again, it was funny to me because in the messages they kept pitting him and I together, saying he has more followers than you and he's better than you and he's better looking than you and he's more work ethic than you. And to me it was just like them projecting, right? Because I don't care about any of that. But them saying this makes the outcome of this video so much sweeter. Why? Because this unfamous, ugly, terrible singer, loser, failure, biggest piece of who was still living in his mom's house was still able to go down to your hometown and get all of these people involved in helping me give you the biggest middle finger ever.
So I don't know why you still hate me. Wish I knew, but I'm too busy.
This project changed the way I viewed McAllen. First of all, I was wrong for thinking it was a trash place filled with trash people. Obviously, with all the love and support I got from everyone in McAllen, from our Airbnb host to our tour host, every shop owner and local resident who participated in my music video, I was wrong to judge an entire region based on the actions of one person. I think people are people no matter where you go, and it's not the people of McAllen that turned my friend into the evil person he became. It was him. He chose this outcome. Before this trip, whenever I thought of McAllen, Texas, it was a place of trauma, pain, and, heartache for me. And I never wanted to think about Texas. But because of the support that I received from people from McAllen, now every time I think of McAllen, Texas, I don't think about that trauma anymore. But I think about all of the good memories that I made doing this music project. And for that alone, I am so grateful to Jess, who made this all possible. I was really able to make peace with what happened to me down there and finally confront the anxiety this situation would cause me. The first day I recorded vocals on this song, I was challenged by one of my producers. They actually advised me to not make this song and to not put it out. It was a weird situation because they wanted to talk about the song and why I was writing about this person, but I didn't want to talk about it. And they're like, you want to write a song about this kid, but you don't want to talk about it? I was like, no. Which of course it doesn't make sense because people don't understand that I split myself into two people. Like, it was the professional side of me that was taking over doing this particular action, and the personal side of me was still wounded, and I didn't want to talk about it because it would trigger anxiety and internal distress that I did not want to have while I'm recording because it affects my vocals. But they kind of forced me to address a lot of things about it, and I'm honestly glad they did because it led me to learn a strategy on how to confront your anxiety and to deal with it. Like, I remember leaving their house that night and I asked myself, like, Brandon, like, what is it that you're afraid of? Like, when you're talking about this, like, why do you shake and tremble? Why do you start shutting down? Like, what is it that makes you so afraid about this? They can't hurt you physically, and they already said everything they wanted to say to hurt you, so why are you still afraid? And then I realized that this entire time, what I have been fearing is remembering what I had lost and remembering the pain. And I was afraid to be sad every time I had to talk about it and remember. It was confusing to me because it was the one thing that I felt like I needed to get out and talk about and be understood by, but it was simultaneously the hardest thing for me to talk about. But when I understood why, you're afraid to talk about it because it makes you sad and you don't want to be sad. I couldn't change my friend or reconcile with him, right? So what was the closest thing I could do to achieve that similar effect? It was to go back down there to my ground zero, the location of a catalyst that tremendously affected my life, and reconcile the memories that had been burnt into my mind. To replace every haunting moment with new moments of laughter, excitement, adrenaline, joy, hard work, friendship, and adventure. Like, can you believe it? I was able to turn an entire city that was a trigger for trauma for me into a place that I genuinely fell in love with because of the great experience that I had. I think the best part about making music is knowing that it's historical. People always remember music, and to be able to have a song that is now an example to the world on how I turned trauma into triumph is not only a reflection of my strength, but also proof of God's promise to give me power to overcome anything and everything. So as you can see, it doesn't really matter who it is behind these hate pages, whether it's the person I think it is or just some random person who just so happens to know all of these details of my life. But I am still justified no matter what. I deserved to do this because the truth is, if they didn't do what they did to me back in 2019, none of this would have ever needed to happen. This is how I chose to heal from it. I don't actually need this song to go viral or blow up. I think it's cool if that happens, but it's not what makes being a music artist fun. It's this. It's being able to fly out wherever with a good buddy of yours to create a really dope music visual with a dope storyline where you get to meet a bunch of new people who are excited to be a part of something creative, new, and fun. It's the memories you make along the way. It's the people you meet along the way, and it's the adventure. People see music videos and they listen to our songs, but they don't understand the life that was lived in order to make this art come to life. life. I am so unbelievably grateful for this experience and for the people of McAllen, Texas, and for my friend Danny, and for Jess, and for my producers who helped me put this song together, and for everyone who helped me make this happen. I could never be more grateful to you guys, because this was always more than music and a music video for me. And now that I've bared my entire soul in front of you all, I hope you appreciate what this experience has been like for me. Good riddance with this person. I have other songs and other things that I want to be doing in my life, but I hope you go stream the song because it's still really dope, and thank you for being a part of this journey with me.